I just accidentally proved time travel is impossible. For me, for you, for anyone in the known universe. And here's why. Okay, let me put an example forward to you, and I'm going to do it right now. Note this door. Right there, right there. Boom. Note that door. Okay, I'm going to commit right now my entire life completely. Everything I will ever do from this point on will be about inventing time travel. And once I do, I will invent time travel. And once I do, I'm going to come back to this moment in about 10 seconds and walk through that door and give myself time travel. So let's wait. Okay, safe to say I'm not showing up, which disproves time travel as a possibility. Now let me explain why. Okay, first off, I'm assuming that fate and destiny aren't real. So for instance, what do I mean by that? I mean that your life isn't decidedly going to move in a singular direction, but rather from your present moment, there's an infinite number of possibilities that your life can go. So for instance, I say I'm going to pick up my phone. Now, from this moment on, from the second I said I was going to pick up my phone, there's a trajectory where I do, there's a trajectory where I don't, there's one where I absolutely do, there's one where I roll a nat 20 when I pick up my phone, and I just pick up my phone in the best possible way anyone's ever picked up their phone, and there's one where I rolled a nat 1 and I picked up my phone in the worst way anyone's ever done it, and I drop it and it falls and it cracks and it breaks and it becomes unwaterproof and it falls into a puddle and it breaks and dies, and then when I try to grab it out of the water puddle, I die from being electrocuted from my phone battery, which is now submerged in water. All of that was just generated, and an infinite number of more possibilities was generated from this current moment from me saying, I'm going to pick up my phone. I just picked up my phone, and I'll bet you that you didn't imagine it was going to happen right then, because you assumed I would do it sooner, or later, or never even intended to. Now here's the point. The thing is that each avenue that the future could go was equally unobstructed. It was just as likely that I would pick up my phone as it was that I wouldn't pick up my phone. Okay, so when I say that I am going to invent time travel, moving forward, multiple and infinite number of avenues into the future has been created. And by the same token of picking up my phone, it is equally likely that I do invent time travel as it is that I don't. Now, you might also say that it's equally as likely that I do come back in time and give myself time travel as it is that I don't come back and give myself time travel. Here's the thing, though, is if it were at all possible that that would happen, I would have just walked through that door and given myself time travel. Because it's just as likely as if I didn't. Now, you might say, what if you gave up on time travel for 5 minutes? Again, it is just as likely, equally as likely, that I give up in 5 minutes as it is that I don't give up in 5 minutes. And if time travel were even remotely possible, even remotely within the realm of possibilities for me to invent, I should have just walked through that door, right? Okay, now that is assuming we're going to break it down a little more, okay? We got to get into the nitty gritty because there's two ways that people understand the world. Some people believe in a multiverse, some people believe in a singular universe that is moving infinitely through time. Either way, time is infinite, which means that possibilities are infinite. So what do I mean by that? I mean that I'm having this conversation with you now. Now, if you believe in a multiverse, you believe that I'm simultaneously having this conversation in an infinite number of different ways. If you believe in a singular universe, that means you believe that I'm having this conversation now, but in an infinite linear line of the future, eventually I'm going to have the same conversation again, just slightly different, with one single thing that's a little bit different. And then time is going to go around again and again and again, and I know that I'm making this look like a loop, but it's not. It's a single linear line moving forever and ever and ever, infinitely into the great void of the future, and it will forever repeat itself. Essentially, think of the universe's intentions in that regard as building the greatest library ever of every infinite possibility that could ever be. Okay, why didn't I walk through that door? Well, because in a multiverse, here's what you might argue. You might argue that I did invent time travel, but then when I came back to a parallel universe where I give myself time travel. Okay, now, fair. But here's what I do know. What that does prove for me is I now know that I am forever locked in the dimension where I don't invent time travel, and time travel isn't a thing. So, as far as I'm concerned in my life, or any of you are in your lives, in this dimension that we currently occupy, time travel is impossible. Okay, let's go to the singular universe. Now, if you're proposing that singularly, moving forward in a linear line, time travel is possible, but I didn't get to do it, how come? How does that make any sense? Again, it was equally as likely that I would invent time travel as I don't invent time travel. And again, it's equally likely that I would come back as it is I don't come back. Now, again, I solidified my intentions to be that I would invent time travel and I would come back and give myself time travel. So there's really no reason, logical, mechanical, physical, that I shouldn't walk through that door and give myself time travel if it were equally possible. But again, as this experiment just proved, it's not equally possible because time travel does not exist. And I personally think that's because time doesn't exist. Typically, when people talk about time dilation, time changing the way that it moves, they're not actually talking about time. They're talking about light and your ability to perceive things and forces affecting the way that you age. Time itself is more comparable to an economic structure than it is to a physical structure. Time doesn't exist in that sense. Time is a value system we allot to objects' movement or basically object movement or energy transfer. It doesn't actually, there's nothing tangible about time because it's a value system like an economic structure is. And so finally, to tie all this up, basically what I'm saying is if time travel were real, if you committed to yourself truly to the fabric of your very being, like a monk, that you were going to invent time travel, come back in time, and give yourself time travel, even just for a split second, it should have happened. You should see your future self come back because you will now trap yourself in a paradox where forever, for infinity, until one of you decides to break it, you will both always invent time travel and never invent time travel because you will set forth a catalyst, a path through the future in which you roll d20s every goddamn time, you get super lucky and you invent time travel. Then you come back and give yourself time travel before you had to invent it. And so you never invented it, but you have time travel, so you did invent it. And you will become infinitely locked within a paradox of yourself that you both, again, never invent time travel, but do invent time travel. And so, by committing to that idea that you're going to invent time travel, theoretically, you should instantly be locked in a permanent paradox of yourself. But you don't. Which, from the way I'm seeing it, means time travel isn't real. Alright, cool. I mean, I think I just disproved time travel, so I can go to bed now and relax, right? Oh fuck.